Alright, so we are going to start insulating the van, and there's lots of different ways to insulate a van. As you can see, they all kind of have the same kind of structure. Ribs across the roof, ribs over here, lots of holes and cavities, places for air to get through, and moisture. And the first thing that you want to decide is, like, what kind of climate are you going to mainly be staying in? Are you going to be staying in a hot climate a lot, where you need more of the heat pushed away from the vehicle? Or are you going to be staying in cool climate where you need the vehicle to hold heat longer? That really will decide on what kind of products you use. So for us, we were going to be staying in our van all different seasons, not just hot weather, not just cold weather, all different kind of weathers. So we wanted to choose an insulation technique that was going to work for hot weather and cold weather. And that took a lot of thinking and a lot of planning, but we're going to be getting some more supplies today and work on it, and we'll go through those techniques. So this is the Mercedes Sprinter van, but it's very similar with like a lot of other vans. There's cavities that are a lot thicker and then thinner cavities, so you're going to have to maybe purchase a couple different thicknesses of your foam insulation board. And we're going to use a spray adhesive to initially get it on here, and if we have to do more than one layer, we're going to sandwich those together so there isn't any airspace or any moisture. And we're going to get some tape and so forth to fill these kind of gaps so there isn't any vapor that comes through, and spray foam in our layers. One thing that we've seen done in a lot of videos, and this may work for if it's cold, but if it's hot weather that you're going to mainly be in, it probably wouldn't be very good. So we did one demonstration of it down here, and we see that the foam board has the Reflectix aluminum material on the inside of the van, and this is fine if you are keeping it warm and your heat from inside the van reflects back into it. But in warm weather from the outside, your metal's going to heat up, and it's going to transfer into all the foam behind it, and it's going to heat up that foam and eventually heat up your whole box, your whole living space. And in the evenings, it's going to take a really long time for it to cool down because you've heated up all the foam and all the walls. So if you're going to be doing a lot of camping in warm weather, you know, you're in Arizona or Texas, which we're going to be going to Texas, that sun is beating down on it, so you're going to want to put this foil on the outside of the van. So when the heat comes through the metal, it hits that reflective material and bounces back away from the vehicle and doesn't start to heat up all your foam, all your insulation for the evening. Reflectix is not good for cold weather. It's not going to give you any more insulation. It's not going to reflect cold away. It only really works is reflecting heat away. So this was just a test. We put 2 layers. You know, we tried out the foam. There's different types. Ones that expand a whole bunch, ones that don't expand that much. And we were just doing this one as a test, like I said. So we will be putting the foil part against the metal. So I have this product here that we found at our home improvement store. It'll say down here the R value of the product for its thickness, and I think we got the 1 inch, and we're not going to have an airspace. So you can see it is 3.85, and this is just like a styrofoam with a plastic back and a aluminum foil reflective side on the other side. Alright, we just got back from another trip to the home improvement store, and we were able to find some poly iso. They only had 3/4 inch, they didn't have inch, but you can see the comparison of the R value here compared to the other product, the polystyrene, that was only available at the first home improvement store that we went to. So we'll still be using both, but this one is definitely a more superior product, a lot more denser, and you get more R value for your buck because it's only 3/4 inch, and it's a lot higher R value. We also got some of this product. This is 1/2 inch, and it says it has an R value of 3. It's pink stuff that doesn't have any foil on the back, and we're going to use this when we have to use more than 2 layers or something to fill in some of the gaps where it's thicker. We also got some of this foam board that usually goes on the outside of the house for insulation. We're going to use this on our purlins and so forth to keep the cold from coming through. We're going to tape off these holes and then cover them with this foam board so it won't transfer cold. This is just 1/4 inch. It says it has an R value of 1, which is not really a whole lot of insulating, but it's mainly just to keep the cold from transferring through and getting vapors onto your final ceiling layer. Alright, we got some of this Loctite brand spray adhesive, high performance, and does say for metal and foam, and we're going to be using that to spray here to attach a first layer of foam on all of these layers and on the ceiling. This says it has a high initial tack, so we won't have to hold it in place too long, hopefully. Some of the first things that you usually do is insulate the floor, and we decided not to really go overboard on the floor. And here is my reasoning on why not to build it up and put a bunch of insulation underneath there. What we did up here in the front, as you can see in my other video, when we installed the seats here, we did this front section, and underneath is the metal frame, and then we put the Reflectix, the bubble wrap, aluminum bubble wrap looking stuff. This right here underneath the floor, and then there is a felt sound deadening layer, and then this rubber flooring that was already here with the tie downs, and we are going to be adding flooring to this after we get everything done. Kind of our reasoning on why we didn't put more insulation or something in the floor is because the floors are always going to be cold. I mean, like, no matter how much you insulate them, they're always going to be cold, and your only bet is to just not sleep on the floor. You know, you're warming up the air in there, but I've lived in a camper for probably more than 5 years, all year round, you know, -5 degrees and so forth, and it doesn't matter what you do, insulating and so forth, the floor is always going to be cold underneath here. And so we just put the Reflectix, and the Reflectix is just going to give like an airspace. It only has like an R value of like 1, which is non-existent. You know, it's just for them to put something on there, I think. And it is just for reflecting heat away. Like maybe in the summer you're using this, and the parking lot heat is coming up underneath the van. It's going to keep it a little bit cooler. It's not going to keep it warmer, like R value wise in the winter. It may help bounce the heat that you have in the van around, but that's mainly why we didn't go overboard on doing a bunch of foam in the floor or anything like that. It's not really worth it. It's not going to help you a whole lot. Through my experience being in a camper all winter long, season after season, it's just going to happen. You're up in the air, cold air, you know, the air gets underneath there, and not much you can do about it. So we are going to be doing this last half of the floor here. We'll take this up, put the Reflectix underneath the floor, and the floor is done until we put the flooring on it, and that'll be last. Alright, we're going to start cutting some of our foam pieces to put in the cavities.
You see that's got a bow to it? See that?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to use something to hold it in till it dries. Alright, we're going to kind of temporarily heat up our metal. Even though we had a warm spell today, it is winter time here, and most of these products, the spray-on adhesive and the foam and so forth, require a optimum temperature range, so we're going to use a few 200 watt bulbs, 250 watt bulbs to heat up our work surface.
Okay. Okay. Now we have to let that tack up. Okay. We let it sit until it got tacky.
About 10 minutes. Putting the foil to the outside.
All right. That. I'm going to take this. And let it sit. Now comes the trick.
So to fill these middle cavities, we had to use 1 inch and then ½ inch. Alright, we're using our lighting equipment to hold these in until the tack dries. I'm going to tape a little bit here, and then we will foam all around the edges.
I think one thing we kind of have to, be resolved about here is that none of this is going to be perfectly filled in, unless we would do commercial foaming like the new house or something. But every little bit we get in the walls and every little bit we get sealed up is that much more we're going to have sealed up.
These cavities here, we just filled it with scraps and we'll end up foaming the outside in. Alright, we got these back panels all done, and we're getting ready to finish foaming in. Alright, we have all of the upper cavities done. A little bit more spray foam to do. We ran out. And have both the window wells on this side. Let's step back here. We have the upper stuff done. And next we're going to be working on the ceiling. We have to cut in our vent fan yet. And then we will be taping over those holes next. Alright, we got some tape, aluminum tape, ductwork tape over some of these holes. This will hopefully keep any vapors from coming through. Next we're going to trim the foam. Alright, so we're going to finish up with cutting off of the rest of the expandable foam, spray foam. We've been working on this part for about 10 days. We've had warm weather and cold weather, so we couldn't always work every day, a couple hours here and there on warm days. And like I said, our next task is to work on the ceiling. I'm going to go ahead and end this video. So this is kind of like part one of the insulation inside the van. We went and got some more supplies, and we got some Luan that we'll eventually be using on the ceiling and some of the walls. So make sure to check out the next video where we continue with cutting in a ceiling vent and insulating the ceiling and wrapping it with this foam board, and then we'll go from there.